Welcome to another episode of JNA Real Estate News Dash, where two full-time realtors become part-time newscasters. Yes, and today we have Grace joining us, who is going to be hosting because Jervis
is on a work trip to beautiful Bali.
Yes, we are building partnerships globally.
Yeah.
It's very exciting stuff. So we hope he comes back with good news. Yes, in the meantime, both Grace and I will be hosting News Dash today.
Yeah, so we have some interesting news coming up. So the first one, what are we taking a look at?
So we are looking at Toa Payoh.
Most expensive 5-room resale HDB sold.
Yes, and interesting fact, I used to stay at this exact HDB. The peak at the time was a 3-room HDB, of course. Yes, and it was sold for 1.42 million. Wow. Okay, so making it the most expensive 5-room HDB resale flat ever sold in Singapore.
And if you don't know, the most expensive HDB, this is second. The first one is a 1.5 million jumbo flat that was sold at Tiong Bahru.
And quite recently too, right?
Yeah, and it's a walkout apartment with no lift.
It's beautiful though. I love it.
Yeah, I know. The size is beautiful. It's 3-room flat joined together.
Yes, but having lived at the peak myself, I must say, okay, I've been up there before. The view is good, okay? But 1.42 million, that makes it more expensive than Duxton.
People then start asking, 1.42, you can actually go into the condo market. But of course, you cannot get the same size, the location. But what do you think about like people saying, how about whether you're willing to pay 1.42 for a HDB, should you then go into the condo market?
This is really a preference. At 1.42 million, you are getting like 3 bedrooms, about 2,300 square feet, right? On a high floor, with good views. At 1.42 million, may not be able, a bit harder to find. Yeah, but if we compare to Duxton, right, which is going about this price, I think the centrality of Duxton is more attractive, right? But amazing profits.
Yes. I think it always boils down to, whether it's for own stay or whether it's for investment, because ultimately a home is important and it's important to love your home. So we understand when people actually pay premium for these, beautiful views or even high floor, even the locality of it.
Yeah. So just to be very transparent, I bought my 3-room flat at 385,000 at the time, right? And that was about 12 years ago. Right? After,
can you calculate?
Yes, after 7 years. After 7 years, I almost made 100%.
Wow.
Yeah. But would you say that every HDB will be able to make this kind of profits?
I think those that go for BTO, they always say it's a no-brainer that, you ultimately are going to walk away with profits. But I think the government also kind of don't want HDB to be a profit-making property because they always promote affordable housing, right? So I think ultimately it's what's the opportunity cost that you're looking at when entering. Definitely nothing wrong going to a BTO because it provides a home. It's something that's affordable. So I think it's really case-to-case basis on what your portfolio looks like at that time. Yeah.
And the thing is, the peak is actually a DBSS.
Yeah,
right?
Which is something that is no longer in the making. Yeah.
Yes. And I feel actually it's quite a pity. It was a good idea by HDB actually to get condo developers to develop HDB, right? But when you give condo developers a shoestring budget, that's when all the news came out. I think it was rampant during that time where DBSS was known to have flaws, defects, very narrow corridors, or even door-to-door facing.
Yeah.
And I think for the peak, it wasn't an exception. We did have a few flaws in our apartment, and it was it wasn't very well known. Okay, not as well known as Trevellis. And I think that's because the residents just didn't want to make it a big hoo-ha out of it, because I think we were half afraid it might affect our future pricing. Yeah. But the other thing about the peak, right? Especially for this 5-room flat, I would know, it has a big balcony. Yeah. So the living room size for the 3-room flat and a 5-room flat, actually there was not that much of a difference. Yeah. The biggest difference was the huge balcony. Yeah. And I think they were trying to promote this kind of dining in the balcony kind of thing. Like, I don't think it's a Singaporean thing though.
Yeah, it works nice overseas when it's cooling, but in Singapore where it's so hot and humid, then maybe not the most ideal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's move on to the second news. What do we have?
That's right. So we have Lentor Hills. We covered this.
Yeah. And the launch weekend was just last week, and they did pretty well. 50% sold
at 2,080 PSF.
Yeah, in fact, we have a couple of clients that actually went for the balloting, and they managed to get quite a couple good units, under 1,009 per square feet.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So total number of units sold was 298. Right? And the price that our clients bought it at was about?
And some of them went under 1,009.
1,009, right? That's a very good.
For a new launch in today's market, yes.
If I'm not wrong, prices were starting about 1,893.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Around there.
So coming under 1,900, congratulations to our clients.
Yes. And when we look at one of the more popular layouts, a lot of them are like the smaller ones, the 2-bed and 2-bed plus study. So we can also see this at Lentor Modern last year. And it's actually even a spillover effect for those that wasn't able to secure a unit at Lentor Modern. And then this is where they actually bought into Lentor Hills Residences.
Yeah. And Lentor Modern is not fully sold yet.
Yeah.
It's about 90% sold. Yeah. But soon. And
when on building day, what's interesting is that when you hear the units being shout out that's sold, you can kind of see from the schematic map. The ones that are being sold are the ones that are 1 kilometer to St. Nicholas. And then you kind of see this starting to fill first, and then the other side starts to fill.
Okay. Well, congratulations on all the buyers of Lentor Hills, because I think it might be one of the blockbusters.
Yeah.
This year.
Yes. Yeah. And we have another one that's coming up this weekend, and we'll give a review to see how it actually fares.
Yes. Okay, so moving on to the next news. Another new launch.
Yep. The same weekend that Lentor Hills was actually being launched. Yes. So we were all at PropNex office, and they were just happening on like different floor levels. Yeah.
Yes. So Jervis challenged me whether or not I would stay at the Myst, which is a cashew, which is somewhere where I stay.
Okay.
Yeah, and
so what was your response?
I wouldn't mind.
Okay,
but at this PSF, I think during our review of pre-launch of the Myst, we anticipated, or we didn't anticipate but we said a good price would be about 1,900 because for the OCR region, right, and even though it's near Cashew MRT, right, it's a bit hard to accept if it's over 2,000 PSF. Right. Even the reserve residences sold at 2,400. But
they have it's kind of like a mix.
Yes, it's a mixed development. And entirely different product. Yeah. The Myst is I wouldn't mind the location.
So who are the main buyers then that actually bought into the location?
So they were mainly Singaporeans.
Okay.
Right. And 1% Chinese PRs.
Yeah.
Yeah. But which do you think were the most popular?
I mean, in terms of floor plan?
In terms of floor plan, yeah.
I think in terms of floor plan, then it would be the smaller developments the smaller units that always be taken up the fastest. 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units because of the quantum that they're going for. So like investors who are purchasing it for the first time and don't have budget constraints, these are normally the kind of units and floor plans they actually go for.
Yes. And what's interesting is that the Myst actually had smaller floor plates compared to other developments. Yeah. But this helps with the quantum. Right? This helps with the quantum, and which is why the 1 and 2 bedrooms were the most popular.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on to our next news, what do we have?
Right. So DBS reports record low property related foreclosures in the single digits.
So good news or bad news?
I think this goes against what every client has been trying to tell us, right? The market's going to crash, that kind of thing. But I think the stats show that actually there's very few foreclosures in Singapore.
Yeah. So not much discounts for people to pick up.
Yeah.
In that sense.
Yes. So don't expect the market to crash, right? And the factors that contribute to this actually is because the government has implemented all the, the TDSR.
Your cooling measures.
Yeah.
To make sure that the market actually doesn't crash and that they want to make sure that when people actually buy into their houses, it's affordable for them. And that's why all these measures are also taken in place to make sure that Singaporeans have the holding power to actually pay off the monthly mortgage just in case something happens.
Yes. So factors such as borrowing restrictions, right? Prudent banking practices. Yeah. And of course, the TASR, which safeguards us from market crash.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think one important factor will also be your stress test that the bank uses when they're calculating your TDSR also, just to make sure that in the circumstance of any changes in the interest rates, you're still able to service your monthly loan.
Yeah. So what's interesting to note is that even though Singaporeans can borrow up to 75% for their condo purchase or their private property purchase, right? Singaporeans are actually not maxing out their LTV. DBS reports that on average, the first quarter ratio is at 41.6%.
I don't think that will come as a surprise because Singaporeans, we are pretty prudent people.
Yeah.
I think we all save for rainy days, and that's why when clients come and talk to us, we always recommend not to max out your budget or not to max out your loan, because you always want to keep for rainy days and make sure that you have enough safety net to service the loan moving forward.
I think one other thing is that banks will always want you to continue servicing your loan, right? So foreclosure is really always the last resort.
Yep.
Right. So that's something that we as Singaporeans can always feel assured.
Yes. Okay, so moving on to the last news for the day. China releases support policies to revive the ailing property market. So I think we've heard a lot of news about the property market in China and how it may not have been doing the best and how people have been buying into new houses and they're just being left like half built.
Yes.
So what are some of the policies that are currently in place?
So just about 2 months ago, right, China released this new policy where they needed their property owners to register their ownership with the government. And I think this has brought about an outflux.
Yes.
Of ownership where people want to get rid of their properties and they're moving their money, right? A lot of it's coming to Singapore. Good news for us, right? And right now, the issue with China is that property prices are high, but the volume is low.
Yes.
Right. So it creates this effect where there is a discrepancy between the seller and buyer expectations. You feel that China's price is very high, but honestly, sellers can list whatever they want.
Yeah.
But there's no buyers in that range.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they're going to buy that range, they might as well come to Singapore. Yay. Yeah. So this week, China has encouraged negotiations between financial institutions and cash-strapped developers. So urging the lenders to extend outstanding loans to ensure the completion of construction projects. So like you mentioned, right?
Yeah. So I think when you're met with, half-built developments, this is usually when developers actually face financial issues, whether it's the problem with the loan from the bank. That's when they just have to stop the entire process and maybe even declare bankrupt. And this actually leaves a lot of buyers hanging because they can see their house, but it's like in cement and it's not done. So I guess this policy really helps in saying, for them to extend the loan back to the developer so that they can complete it. Yeah.
And I remember seeing like videos on YouTube and Instagram where these beautiful cities in China are being built and nobody's living in them.
Yeah.
The roads are empty. That's huge city and that's one car driving down the road. And it's not the only issue that China is facing. Yeah. They are facing, I don't know, in Singapore it might be a happy problem, but they are facing deflation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Singapore, we complain a lot about inflation, but actually it's a sign of a healthy and strong market. Yes. Yeah. And, you don't want to see deflation too much.
Yeah.
It means that your market is not doing well.
Yes.
And it doesn't encourage like businesses to come into Singapore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay. So I think that's all on the news that we have for this week.
Yes.
Any last thoughts?
I want to be the next one to go to Bali. Jealous?
Take note.
Right. I'm very happy for Singapore's market. Yes. Right. I mean, even though HDB prices are high, but I mean, the HDB seller is very happy.
Yeah.
You can sell at a great price, and not everything is expensive actually. If you are looking for a fair price condo or HDB, it's still possible. It's out there in the market.
I think why people always think that the price is because only $1 million HDBs gets promoted on the news, right?
Yeah.
So we always think that there's a lot of transactions, but in fact, it's only one small portion of all the HDB transactions. It's just that they get a little bit more spotlight to them. Yeah. So if there are people who are looking for more affordable housings, there are options in the market as well.
Yes. Right.
Yep.
So that brings us to the end of News Dash.
Yeah, we'll see you the next time. This is Grace.
This is Lucas.
Bye-bye.
Bye.